All right, everyone. Thank you all for joining. Like I mentioned earlier, feel free to eat throughout the session. This is your lunchtime as well. But we're super excited to have you here today. We have five incredible people with us today, all BGSU alumni who are here to speak with you. So just a little bit of information about this session. Since this is webinar format, just like the sessions you've been attending, please use the chat and the Q&A function to ask any questions you have. That's why they're here. So I am going to let them all introduce themselves and then start off with a question. But if you all have any questions throughout this conversation, please put them in the chat or in the Q&A function, and I will be sure to look at those and read them out loud. So please ask questions. That's why they're here. And we're super excited to have them. So awesome. So I'll let them all introduce themselves. So let's just start with who's on my screen first. Amanda, would you like to start?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Lynch, and I don't know what you want us to say right now, but I graduated in 2009 from BGSU. My degree was in Human Development and Family Studies. I had a minor in Health Promotion. And after I graduated, I moved out to Salem, Oregon, and I worked at a nonprofit organization and a health department. And then I came back to Ohio, got my master's, and I'm now a faculty member at the University of Cincinnati in their health promotion and education program. So that's a little about me. I'm very excited to be back. I love BG. So.
Perfect. Yeah, sorry, I guess I should have given you a prompt, but yeah, just feel free to introduce yourself in any way you want, talk about your background, what you majored in, what you're doing now. I think that would be really helpful. Ashley, if you want to go next.
Thank you. My name is Ashley Hartman. I graduated also in 2009 and then went in, I guess I should say my major was applied health science, and then went to Ohio State to obtain a master's of public health. I then went on to move to Cleveland and worked in health education, advocacy in the areas of women's health, children's health, as well as now working in drug and alcohol and mental health. So I worked at the Cleveland Clinic, Planned Parenthood, Recovery Resources, which is a mental health agency in Cleveland, and now just about a year ago, moved back to Northwest Ohio. I live in Perrysburg and work in Bowling Green at NAMI of Wood County, which is the National Alliance of Mental Illness, and I'm the Associate Director there.
Awesome. Thank you, Ashley. Jessee?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessee Hankins. I graduated in 2015 from BGSU. My major was Integrated Social Studies Education, AYA, with a double minor in Political Science and History. So I'm currently a teacher at Findlay City School. So I love Northwest Ohio so much I stayed in the area after graduating. I'm currently wrapping up my master's degree in American History and Government at Ashland University, and I just applied to pursue my doctorate in curriculum teaching education at Stanford University. So I've been teaching, this is my 6th year, and so I've been at Findlay ever since I graduated.
Thank you, Jessee. Darrell?
Hello, my name is Darrell. I graduated from BGSU in 2014 with a psychology major and a philosophy minor. After that, I went to graduate school at Duke, where I got a master's degree in bioethics and science policy, and I did some research there on mobile health apps for your phone. After that, I wanted to go to law school, so I went to Cornell Law School, and when I was there, I kind of focused on law, the integration of law and medicine, and then I was academic chair of the Black Law Students Association. And then I graduated law school in May, virtually online, May 2020. So I'm starting a fellowship to do some research on government corruption. And then in 2021, I'll be going back to Ohio to work for a federal judge. So that's me.
Thank you. And last but not least, Angel.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angel Staten. I'm definitely the youngest of the group here. I graduated from Bowling Green in 2018 with a bachelor's in business administration, specializing in international business and management. After graduation, I went back home, which is Detroit, Michigan, and I was an executive team leader of logistics for Target. Ran a store for about a year and a half, didn't really like that career path. So then I am now a district sales lead for Motown East Zone with Frito-Lay. So I have about 20 or so different accounts that are Kroger's, Myers, Sam's Clubs that I oversee. The process is there and just the chips and how the promotions and everything set up and the relationships being at the table with the Kroger decision makers and the Meyer decision makers. And then because I was so involved in community service and everything of that nature through my sorority, I kind of wanted that to also translate in my professional life. So I joined the GRE that PepsiCo has of Women of Color, and I currently serve as the community specialist on their leadership board.
Awesome, thank you. So as you all can see, they all have very different backgrounds. They all are doing very different things. So they're super eager to answer any questions that you have about these things as you all begin navigating, your own life and career paths. So with that being said, I will start us off with a question. So I guess the most obvious one to me is, how did BGSU set you all up for success? And you can go in any order, whoever wants to speak, that would be great.
Yes, I can start. So I think literally my experience there was the reason why so many other things happened in my life. So I was a peer educator, and it is kind of funny, Angel, when you said that you were the youngest. Ashley and I were joking that we're the old fogies here today, and it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. But Ashley and I were actually, we knew each other. We were best friends at BG, and we were peer educators with the Wellness Connection, and we were president and vice president of the Student Wellness Network. And that experience I was very much able to take with me to get my job in Oregon, which was all about doing substance abuse education and things like that. And then when I applied to graduate school, I kind of told myself that I wanted to get a graduate assistantship because I didn't want to pay for grad school. And the graduate assistantship positions at UC were all teaching positions. So teaching like 1 credit hour health classes like human sexuality and stress management. And I did so much of that kind of work, teaching those kinds of interactive health classes as a student at BG, that I was a shoo-in for a GA position. And because I had that GA position, that's why I was offered a full-time position at UC. So it's literally like, that is the reason why I am where I am today in my career, for sure.
I can go next. I think the thing that really helped me with BG were the relationships that I made with my professors and fellow students. You talk about people we know on the panel. I knew Jessee when I was at BG. But when I talk about relationships with professors, what I mean is I would kind of take the time. I went to the professor's office hours. I went and I asked questions. And I'm so happy I did that, because some of those professors that I went in their office in 2011, I still talk to them now. I talked to a former BG professor in July. And he's someone that I've kept in contact with my whole time since I graduated. Something I do that has helped me with success related to relationships is that at the end of every year, I give my mentors an update of where I've been. Not necessarily asking them for anything, just saying, hi, I'm Darrell, I took this class with you. Here's what I'm doing. And by doing that, I've been able to keep in contact. And I think that's one thing that makes BG professors so unique and different, is that they were willing, they had the time to talk to me when I was there, and they were willing to keep in contact with me as I went along. So I really think it's the professor. And then also with students, my friends that lived on my floor freshman year, I still talk to all of them. It's weird to think I met them 10 years ago, but I did, and they're still some of my greatest friends. So I really think that BG is a great place to grow relationships, to help your future career, and just to have good friends. So I really encourage you to go talk to your professors. I guess it's virtually now, but go do it. It's a great thing, and I'm really happy I did it.
I definitely want to echo the same things that you were saying. in the regards of just the relationship building. Like BG, I don't think a lot of people take advantage or realize the support system that you have around you. Like these professors are there outside of classes in different ways. Like, yes, you want to ask them like, oh, I don't understand this essay, or I don't understand like the tests that are coming up. But if you have genuine conversations with them outside of that, you just get a whole different aspect and different things unlocked for you. So when I was in school, I didn't go into BG saying I want to do business. I said, I'm from Detroit. I'm a first generation college kid. I have no roadmap here. What am I going to do? And then I knew then, I was like, well, do I want to do grad school? I want to do these 4 years first and then see how that kind of goes before I commit to another 4 years. But from there, I was able to talk to my professors, which actually led me to the Center for Community and Civic Engagement, which was way back the Office of Service of Learning, which is this office that was actually able to put on this event. And like Paul Valdez and B. Jane Rosser were just huge motivators in doing that. And that was just through the opportunities that they were able to expose me to. And then I struggled with, okay, now I'm a business major, but I'm really passionate about community service and nonprofit work. How does that translate in terms of I want to follow one career path, but I still have this passion that I don't want to die after graduation, essentially. So then going into kind of the corporate sector and then thinking, okay, what are the corporate social responsibility? What are your donations? How are you planning out donations? And just networking the same way that I was doing within BG in work, and then seeing that, oh, these are GREs. I could be a part of Women of Color. I can kind of organize where our funds go to, donating, getting people excited about it. And when you have a true passion for something like that, it shows and people are getting as excited as you.
I can go next. Just to echo along that too, I think BG just really helped me find my voice. I remember going into my first college class. It was college writing, and I completely like failed the papers, like the first two. And I was like, wow, I'm a really terrible writer. Like I must be doing something wrong. But like talking with my professor and just having them see other things in me that I wasn't able to see myself just yet really gave me the confidence and to be able to express my opinion, even in environments that I may not feel comfortable to do so. And I think, especially in 2020 and the times we're now, like we need people who are be willing to speak truth to power and speak their voice and contribute their ideas, because the collective conversation is much better when all voices can participate. And so I think just, to build a relationship with professors, even the staff members. I know, like for me, my experience, not only were my professors really impactful, but also the members, the staff members in Office Residence Life and the Center for Leadership. I made some really strong connections, and then my participation in the Leadership Institute, it helped me to see that like I have much to contribute to the community, and I should be able to use that to make the positive good in the community that I live.
All right, well, I'll round us out. That's funny. I also did leadership 13 years ago. Oh my goodness. So really resonating everything folks have already shared. My time at Bowling Green really set me up on the path that I am now. And as everyone was talking, I was kind of relating, like, what were those little, like, you have those moments that then set you on that next stage. And Amanda shared us being peer health educators. I remember I was, I had 4 majors. So if you're like, moving through life, that's okay. But I remember that moment of like, I want to do health education, health promotion, and having a mentor who had a degree in public health and seeing a template of what that career could look like, and having someone I could always go to. And it's so important. I think folks mentioned this too. It's having those relationships with either faculty and staff, and then also your fellow students. Sometimes we don't even think about that. Often, like if from a very logistical standpoint, you're applying for a job, your references don't always have to be a past supervisor. They can be someone that was your coworker or things like that. And same with kind of your experiences on campus. So developing those relationships are key. I echo too, I think Bowling Green has a culture that is really student focused. And in my time at Cleveland, working with a lot of other students, having different interns at different universities, I can really speak to that. I think Bowling Green really focuses on the students having the resources and the support that they need, which I think is really excellent. Trying to think, it's so fun now working in Bowling Green. I'm very into the robots. I don't know who you're like is in Bowling Green, but there's these little food robots. So I'm very into that. And I even see that now. I work with interns and current students at Bowling Green, and I can still get that it's evident that the faculty, the staff are giving them resources, even just, you know, they interview well, they have well put together resumes. So I think that is all reflected. I hear them talking about the resources they get from the Career Center, and I remember utilizing those resources too as a student. So yeah, I think there's so much Bowling Green can offer, and I think the last thing to really think about is you get out of your experience what you put in. So a lot of folks mentioned other student organizations they were part of, going into office hours, having conversations with faculty. The nice thing too, I feel like with faculty or staff, people love talking about themselves. Like, go in and say, hey, how did you get to where you are today? Let me hear about your career experiences. Do you have connections? That was one other thing I was thinking of. Even, you know, I'm 33 now. My last job reference was a person from Bowling Green that I knew from then. You know, they were still kind of a person who I felt knew me really well, and I continued to communicate with throughout, you know, my professional journey. And so I just, they were someone who can always speak to my skills and experiences. And so those relationships can last throughout your career. So.
Yeah, thank you all. I will say those robots freak me out every time I see them. So glad you brought them up. But so we've gotten this question a few times in the chat. So thinking back to when you all were applying to colleges for the first time, what inspired you to come to BG? What really like sold it to you that you were like, this is the school I want to go to? And we'll just hear from a couple of you all so we can make sure we can answer all of the questions.
I guess
Oh, go ahead, Angel.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just I'll make mine quick too. Just as a first generation college student, it was extremely difficult. College wasn't pushed on me at all, so it was literally me. My mom was like, "Oh, you want to go to college? Okay, I'll support that." It wasn't, "You're going to college, you're going to college," and I had really good grades in high school. So fun fact, I had a full ride to all of the Michigan universities, including U of M, Michigan State. And I said, nope, I don't want to go there. I don't want to do anything like that. I feel like I'm following, for whatever reason, I just feel like I was following other people's footsteps. I don't know why, because I'm a first generation college kid, but I just felt like I'm following someone else's footsteps by doing this. So I visited Bowling Green, and exactly what Ashley was saying, they're so student focused. Like even the tour guide that I had, just the energeticness and just the passion. I'm like, oh, you really like BG. And I'm like, okay, well, why do you like BG? And just from there, it really kind of excited me. And then I just decided to go to BG. And then luckily they gave me some money too.
I think for me, first it was far away enough from home to where I could spread my own wings. I know a lot of my friends, I went to high school in Akron, so a lot of them were going to University of Akron, Kent State. I said, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to go to high school and college again. And so I visited Bowling Green, and just hearing, you know, the tour guides and the other students talk about it, and then just the friendliness. I know that for me, that's what kind of set me back, because when, you know, growing up in Akron, like if you didn't know people, you just kind of kept to yourself. But everyone's like, oh, hello, how are you doing? And like, you're a stranger. Why are you talking to me? But just the openness of the community, and that they're just willing to, you know, put themselves out there and, you know, try to get people involved, you know, especially at the student organization fair, you know, at the beginning of the school year, just how that they're trying to grab you and get you involved and connected to the community as soon as possible.
So awesome, thank you all. So this next question is really interesting. So feel free to speak to your experiences, but how did you use your high school opportunities, your work in organizations, and your accomplishments to catapult you into your college life and then later your life careers?
I can start with that one. I think one thing that I learned at Bowling Green is that every person, kind of no matter what you are, due to your past experiences, you have different strengths you can bring to an organization just because of your unique experiences. There are things that only you experience you can bring. So for me, when I was in high school, I did mock trial. That was my thing. And really from that, it wasn't that I did mock trial at Bowling Green, but that I realized that I really like speaking. I really like talking to people. And so for what I did, I became an honors program ambassador. So I was at all the preview days and I was talking to parents about going to Bowling Green, talking to fellow students, prospective students. And I think for me, that experience there really was able to make me an asset, make me useful to the honors program at the time. And I think that's something that I learned even throughout BG. When I went to BG later, for me, it was research. I worked with a lot of psychology professors and philosophy professors to do research. I loved research. So when I went to Duke, I came to professors and I said, hey, I've done a lot of research. I want to help you because I have this skill that a lot of the people don't have. And then when I went to law school, it was something similar. I had an experience working in law and medicine. Cornell was thinking about maybe starting that. So they came to me as a student and said, hey, we're going to do this. Do you want to help? I said, sure. I definitely want to help. So I think one thing you can do is, like, no matter what you did in high school, Bowling Green, there's something you can bring to the table that's going to help you down the road. And I think that was kind of something that helped me. And I think that's something you can think about too for the future, because no matter what you did, you have a unique experience that can help you help your next organization.
I'll just kind of add on to that. I think, so when I was in high school, I was really active in a youth leadership program called Teen Institute. It was a youth-led substance abuse prevention program, and they were very like community service oriented. And I knew that I wanted to continue doing similar types of things when I went to college. And so I sought out the Wellness Connection, and they had the peer education program. And at the time, it was called Bacchus Gamma, and then we changed it into the Student Wellness Network. But yeah, I had such a passion for that in high school, and this idea of wanting to focus on substance abuse prevention and things like that, that it led me to the different organizations I was involved at BG. And I kind of mentioned before, and then that experience at BG really then catapulted the rest of my career. And so I think a lot of it just really speaks to following that passion. And the cool thing about being a college student is that, first of all, you're at a university that has tons and tons of student organizations. And if there just happens to not be a student organization for something that you're passionate about, start one, right? Like that's not super difficult to do. And it's kind of interesting. I have a different perspective now as a faculty member at a university. One of my students is like a world-renowned jump roper. And I was like, okay, that's random, but cool. And there was no jump rope club at the University of Cincinnati. So she started one. And now they go to all of these area high schools and do jump rope programs, and they put on shows and work with kids and things like that. And she's turned it into a career, and she gets paid to go do jump rope workshops all across the world. So it's kind of, I think, just this idea of following your passion and utilizing opportunities as a student is really the way to get there. And you have so many resources at a place like BG to make that happen that you might not get those same kind of resources once you leave. So take advantage of them and get those skills while you're a student.
I just wanted to add on a little bit of what Amanda was saying. Definitely take advantage of everything that BG has to offer, because I feel like when you're at BG, you're almost at a buffet. But the minute that you leave BG, it's kind of like, okay, I made my plate. What do I do with it now? So it's just kind of figuring out, you don't like chicken, you're a vegetarian, so I don't go here, or whatever the case may be, and trying to fit in everything that BG has given you elsewhere. So
that's a really great analogy. I have never heard that before. I really like that. I think I'm going to steal that. Awesome. So thinking about like when you were here at BG, is there anything that you all maybe regret not participating in or doing more of in your time here that you would maybe tell a student today to like take advantage of?
That's a hard one. I don't have an answer. I just wanted to, everyone's like thinking really hard. I was at the buffet. I was like, bring it on. I don't remember do you remember, Amanda, what that one dining hall was that had the buffet? It's not there anymore.
The Sundial?
Yeah.
Yes, there were so many good things about, I think that's a hard thing, right? Like if you do take advantage of it, it's hard to think like, what did I miss out on? And I'm thinking about things like, I didn't go to the ice rink very often. And I feel like that's something that, you know, once you leave Bowling Green, there aren't accessible ice rinks everywhere. But it's something that I did actually, which I don't know that it necessarily, I think everything sort of happens for a reason and it kind of all worked out. But I was one of those people who like sped through my academic career, and I took 18 credit hours every semester, and I had credit hours coming in from high school. So I graduated in 3 years. So I was one of the young kids in my class. So I was only 20 years old when I graduated with my bachelor's degree. And I sort of got in this mode of like rushing through life. And then I'm like, man, I didn't need to do that. Also, Ashley and I graduated when the economy had like completely tanked. And so it was not a good time to be graduating. So thankfully, I was very fortunate to be able to get a job during that time. But yeah, I think don't feel like you have to rush the process necessarily. You know, embrace it and try to enjoy that time that you have, because it does go by quickly. And I'm sure those of you who are seniors on this, you're already figuring that out. It goes by very quickly.
I just add to that. I think, and this is such a great group of panelists, very, you know, motivated, excited folks. And I imagine I felt this way, maybe other folks did, that you just are constantly, I don't know, very achievement driven, very motivated, and just give yourself some time to kind of, like Amanda said, like, don't feel like you have to rush through everything. I know my senior year, I was able to take a little less credit hours and do a little bit more different things, and using that time at Bowling Green to explore different options and different career opportunities, or meeting different groups of people. I know I was kind of very focused in a certain kind of like a lot of student activities that were very, you know, around health promotion, things like that. There's other things, you know, it's the best time to start trying on some different hats and find what fits best for you. So feel, you know, this is a great time to do that.
I guess I would say there's two things I regret from my experience at BG after thinking about it. One was not going to the rec center very often. That freshman 15 came real quick. And so that's been a struggle ever since I've graduated from BG, is getting back on the fitness track. And I think 2020 has really been the year of self-care. So definitely visit it, because they've changed it since I graduated, and it looks really nice now, way better than when I started BG in 2010. So that would be like the first thing, is go to the fitness areas and make sure you take care of yourself and work out a little bit. And the second is getting involved in my the professional organization for teaching, the AYAA organization. I didn't get involved with the union until like my third year of teaching, you know, as a union member, and getting involved in the organizational structure, and just the connections I made there, both professionally and personally, have helped me grow further in my abilities as an educator. So I think those would be the two that I would regret from my time at BG.
Awesome. All right. Oh, sorry, Darrell, did you want to say something? I saw you take your mic.
Just real quick, I think one thing I regret now is kind of thinking about what people have said. I didn't really realize the freedom that I had at BG. As someone said with the buffet, when you're an undergrad, you can start something and then kind of stop it, and there aren't as many consequences. You can say, I don't want to be in the student org anymore. You can kind of find something else. You really have the freedom to really find what really works for you. And I didn't really realize that, because once you leave Bowling Green and move on, it's a little bit more of it's a lot harder to shift gears as it is once you're out of undergrad, because you have a story, your story needs to make sense. You kind of have to fit things on. But when you're an undergrad, you really have a lot of freedom. I think there were things I didn't do. Like my last semester, I took a computer science course, and then it was my last semester. I was like, oh man, I wish I had taken more of those, because once you're in grad school and in law school, you have a few room for electives, but you can't really change your major, as it were, once you're gone. So I just didn't realize the freedom that I had I really could have done almost anything, and I didn't really appreciate that when I was there.
I just want to add one more thing to that point, that you don't have to have it all figured out. I think there's so much pressure in undergrad to like have your whole career planned out. But until you're out there trying some different things with your career, you know, you don't have to have this perfect academic track and, you know, experience. Have just a variety of different things. And so many things are transferable, you might not realize. And I think just kind of have fun. Like I have an intern and we were looking at her resume and she was like, should I put this relevant experience or work experience? And I'm just thinking, you know, you're probably gonna have to upload it to some random template anyways, and it's gonna spit out generically. So like, you know, obviously you want to be mindful of those things, but also just have fun. It's Bowling Green. Go to the ice arena. Go to the rec. I spent like 90% of my life at the rec center because I worked there. And then when the Wellness Connection moved there, I'm like, well, I guess this is the only building I go to.
Awesome. Thank you all. So we have about 20 minutes left, so feel free to throw more questions into the chat before we end the session. But someone wants to know, throughout your 4 years at BG, what was one iconic moment that you'll always remember? I'll give you a second to think back a little bit, but something that, you know, you think back to your time at BG and you're like, you know what? That was my shining achievement. That was like the coolest thing that I experienced.
I was going to share, and then when you said shining achievement, I'm like, well, this isn't really a shining achievement. I'm smiling and laughing because I was just thinking we were always doing student health education. We were just always out there doing fun and goofy and different things. And I remember we had all these condoms and we needed to distribute them. So but we were like in a golf cart, just like driving around campus in this golf court, like, hey, do you want this box of condoms? And they were like, yeah, okay. And, you know, you'd give them to them. And again, it's like, it's silly and fun and you have a good time. But, you know, on a serious note, that work that I did, I went on to work at Planned Parenthood for 2 years. Like, they appreciated that kind of energy that I brought into the world. That was the hard thing. I was trying to think of like these moments and they're all like kind of ridiculous, but they are related. Like they were all pieces in me kind of finding what I like to do. I mean, my job, if I can't be having fun with my coworkers, we do great community work and help people, but you know, I like to have a good time too.
I would say that my most iconic or memorable moment at BG happened while I was a civic action leader through the Center for Community and Civic Engagement. So I'm not sure how it looks now, but Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, it was a small group of us and we planned that entire event, obviously through the help, but reaching out to community partners and figuring out what we're going to eat and the logistics and everything. So we were involved in that. And I can't remember what year it was, but we were in the center the night before at maybe 1 a.m. putting together binders and everything. And I just remember thinking, this is what I want to do. It's like stressful as it is, but I had this business aspect. So I'm putting together everything. I'm making these checklists. I'm doing kind of what I do now for work, but I'm doing it for a great cause. Like I'm doing it and I'm tying it in with my passion. This one I was like, this is exactly what I want to do, but I know I can't plan MLK Day for the world outside of this year. So it was kind of a struggle finding that, like I mentioned, but definitely planning MLK Day and being involved with that and seeing the huge turnout and seeing thousands of students go out to 40 plus different community partners and the impact. And that was definitely one of the best moments.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about kind of those big moments, and I don't know if I have just like one moment where I was like, oh my gosh, that was the life-changing thing for me. But I do think just the culminating experiences of I think spending time with people who are supporting you in your professional development and those relationships that you've built. I think that was kind of a huge thing for me. It is actually interesting now, as I was talking, it kind of dawned on me, and I share this experience with my students all the time now. I took a service learning course my senior year, and I was convinced while I was a student that I wanted to work with middle school students. I knew that that was an age group that They're going through a lot of change. They're exposed to a lot of new things and a lot of new friend groups and things like that. And so it's a very risky time in life. And so that's a really good time for intervention and positive relationship building with young people, so you can prevent them from engaging in risky behavior moving forward. And so I took this service learning class where you had to volunteer at an after school program for the middle school there in Bowling Green. And this is no offense to those in education, but I hated every second of volunteering my time at that middle school program. And it was such an eye-opening experience because I was like, oh my gosh, here I've just spent this whole time thinking I wanted to work with middle school students, and come to find out they drive me nuts. And so I kind of realized from that experience that I really appreciated working with high school students who are a little bit older. And then after I left BG, I realized that college students are really my population that I love working with. So I think even those moments that might not necessarily be like, this is what I want to do, but the moments that tell you this is what you don't want to do are just as valuable, because you can cross that off the list of all of the various things that are out there.
Awesome. All right. So one person wants to know, what was your biggest struggle in getting to where you are today, and how did you overcome that struggle?
Sure, I can talk about that. So I think my biggest struggle for me was I graduated from Bowling Green. I had this plan. I was going to get my PhD in psychology. I was super excited about it. I applied to like all these schools, graduated in December, February comes. I didn't get into any of them. And I was like, oh no, what did I do? How did I spend these 4 years and then not be able to reach my goal? And it was really tough. So I had a couple of days where I just ate a bunch of pizza and ate a bunch of ice cream and like was upset about it. But I think the biggest thing I did was that I persevered. I got back up. I started thinking about what kind of transferable skills do I have? How can I use what I've created for my next step? And that's when I realized, oh, I can maybe get a master's degree. Oh, I think bioethics is interesting. Oh, when I look at this, it kind of actually looks like this was plan A, because I have this philosophy minor. I have these other things that I've done, and I got back up and I went to the next thing. And I think that's so important to learn, is that the biggest thing you can do is persevere, be hard, keep pushing. And persevere doesn't always mean try the same thing again. For me, it meant getting back up and putting all my efforts into something new. And I'm really happy I ended up going the way I went. I mean, when I look at my bio now, it's like, wow, it looks like this was plan A, but it really wasn't. And I think that's really important, that you have to really persevere and work hard, and realizing that you do have value, even if whatever you want to do first doesn't recognize that value. You've built something that's worthwhile, and you can repackage it into something else.
I think, oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
One of the biggest things that I had an issue with was definitely age and race. When I left BG, I think I got stuck in a BG bubble. I'm like, it's so diverse. Everyone loves me here, and it's gonna be like this everywhere I go. I went to Target. I was an executive team leader of logistics at 21, 22. And you have people there that's been 20 years, and now I'm their boss, and they're looking at me like, you don't know absolutely anything. You just graduated the last 4 years, and everything you think you know is textbook, and look at you, your appearance, and all this different things. So it was very tough for me to kind of overcome that, to think, well, why did I do business? Like, I know the general population of business. Why am I trying to go into business and shake the table? And why am I trying to sit at these tables that are going to make me uncomfortable? And then I just kind of worked through it in terms of building those relationships and let them know, like, hey, I'm young, but I'm reliable. You need me for X, Y, and Z. I'm able to bring these different things to the table. So echoing the sentiments of knowing the skills that you have and executing them and kind of showcasing them, they're like, oh, well, maybe you're not just this box that I put you in. Maybe, you know, you have different skills and stuff to offer, and you're greater than and outside of your appearance. So that just came with different conversations with people. And then when I left Target, they were extremely upset. When I put in my 2-week notice, they actually were trying to offer me 2 or 3 different stores. They wanted me to be a branch manager. And at this point, I'm 23. So I'm like, okay, what changed in that year? And it definitely was the way that I essentially proved myself to the people that I reported to and the people that reported to me. And I didn't feel like I would ever have to do that, but I did.
I was going to share next. That was just so powerful. I was like, yeah, you go, you know? And I think kind of, you know, tangentially related to some other things folks are sharing, I think I had an idea of this is the job I want. And so much of what I did led to that position. And then I got into it and was like, oh, actually, I don't know if this is what I want to do. So I think the struggle there being just being okay that maybe what you expected isn't where things are going to go, and that's okay. And something really wonderful and great is out there. So that's all. I'm just like, Angel, though, so powerful. I'm so into you. I just met you and I'm like, yeah, you tell them what's up.
Yeah, and what Angel was saying actually kind of reminded me of something, because and everything that's been talked about here, we've heard so many times today how wonderful the faculty and staff are at BG and how supportive they are. And something that I realized after I graduated and got a job in the real world, not everyone's like that. And I think that I was very kind of spoiled, I guess you would say, at BG, because if any of you have worked with Dr. Faith DiNardo, she was kind of our person. We were Ashley and I were her first students when she first started at BG, and she was such a powerful mentor for us and was always helping us to learn and grow and was so supportive. And even though we technically didn't work there, she was kind of like our supervisor. And then when I got out, my first 2 professional jobs, my supervisors were not like that at all. And I kind of had this aha moment of realizing what kind of support I like to have as an employee from my superior. You know, I like to have more of a mentoring, teamwork kind of relationship. And I think Faith really taught me that. And that's something that I then took with me when I had the opportunity to supervise other people. Just knowing that that relationship was so powerful to me, and knowing that, okay, the whole world is not going to be so as wonderful as BG is, and trying to replicate that in other settings, because I think that's something that we can take from this. All those powerful lessons that our mentors taught us when we were students, then take that to the other people that you work with in the future. But that was kind of my big struggle, was like the aha moment of, oh, people aren't as nice as they are in Bowling Green, and that's very sad.
All right, so we have time for one last question. So I would love to hear all of your perspectives on this. But before we get to that question, for all of the participants, I'm going to drop all of these wonderful folks' emails and information into the chat. So feel free, if you would like to reach out to any of them, ask them like questions that we maybe didn't get to today, or if you just want like a connection and maybe you're interested in doing something similar to what these folks are doing, I'm sure that they would be more than happy to have a conversation with you about that. So the last question that we want to hear, if you could go back to yourself as an undergrad student and give yourself one piece of advice, what would you tell yourself, you know, maybe in that first year you were in college and struggling because you were adjusting, or maybe your senior year when you thought you had your life figured out and maybe it wasn't all what you thought it was going to be? What would that advice be?
I would say relax. You're kind of stressed, like chill out, it's fine. Also, find your people and spend your energy with those that are, what does she say? Like sparks joy. I think that's about organizing your stuff. But, you know, find those people who bring positive energy to your life, put your time and resources there, and you're going to have the most meaningful experience.
I guess I would say, keep in touch with your community, keep in touch with those around you that support you. And if you are struggling, then reach out to them. I know I was very fortunate. I started at BG earlier than many other students because I moved in for marching band, and I was in marching band for the first 2 years. So, being a high school marching band to college is a little bit different, but still having that community aspect and, having them share with you their experiences of moving to school and, starting school earlier, and going through those motions. They can really help you and just be able to communicate like when you need help, and maybe if you know how you need the help, people will take care of you and support you.
I think I would echo the sentiment to relax. I think when you're an undergrad, you kind of think that every day is kind of like poker where you're like all in, and if you lose, you're gonna lose everything. If like you make a mistake on this one class, you're not gonna fail and not have a good career. I think that comes into your brain a lot when you're a student, especially around finals time. And I think the biggest thing is like just relax. Everything you're doing is just a small piece of your puzzle down the road. And if something doesn't go right with it, your story isn't over yet. It's just a piece of your story. So I would just say relax. It's not, everything's not on the table all the time. Your whole future is not always on the table. So I think you take that and relax a bit. Take care of yourself. You're your greatest asset. It's not what you do on your resume, it's how you take care of yourself. If you burn yourself all the way out, you can't even add more stuff to your resume. So I would say relax and take care of yourself.
If I could go back, I would definitely want to like grab freshman Angel and tell her the same thing of, hey, just relax. I didn't join any extracurricular activities. I didn't want to even go to the Oaks with some of my friends. I'm like, no, I have to study. I have this paper due in 2 weeks. If I don't start now, I'm going to fail. Like, I did not want to explore the different opportunities or even the reason why I wanted to come to BG. Like freshman year, I said, no, I have to get my GPA together. Like it has to be right. Like if I don't have a 4.0, I'm not value added anywhere. So just that extra pressure that I put on myself, it eased up sophomore year. And by junior and senior year, I was just like, okay, this is what I want to do now. But I would definitely just like what everyone else is saying, relax freshman year, take time to really see what you're going to do. Sophomore year, now that you have an establishment, did you like what that's going to do? Do you like where your feet are planted? If not, you still have room and time to change that. So just take advantage of the buffet.
I love that buffet example. I would just kind of add on to all of that. When I think back to my freshman year, and also thinking back even further, thinking about myself in high school, I was a completely different person by the time I graduated from BG. I was so shy, and I was just very I was not outgoing at all in high school. I was trying new things made me very anxious, and in my freshman year, especially my first semester, I felt the same way. I was just very anxious about everything because it's all so new. It's all new people. I knew one person from high school that was at BG as well. And so my friend group was like all new. Obviously the living situation was all new. Classes are all new. Like everything was so overwhelming at the beginning, and I was so anxious. And I think just telling yourself it's okay to try, just try it. And what I found over time is that once you kind of find your thing, you get that confidence, and you just sort of transform into this person who can do so many awesome things that you never thought you would have been able to do. Like I never thought that I could do public speaking. I was petrified to speak in front of a group of people. And then becoming a peer educator like completely changed that. And that's literally, I make a really good salary doing that every single day, just talking to large groups of people all the time. And so, yeah, I think it's just try things. And because as a student, you're literally there to learn, and it's okay if you fail at some of these things, because if you're not struggling with some of that, if everything comes easy to you, then you're not learning. So really just try things, try new stuff, go to the ice rink, go try ice skating. And if it's not your thing, that's cool, but just try it out. I think that this is such a good opportunity. And there's really no other time in life when you'll have the opportunities as you do while you're a student to just try lots of different things.
Definitely. Thank you, panelists, so much for being here today. I just from looking in the chat, I know all of the students are very appreciative of your advice and your words today. So thank you, thank you. Thank you for taking this time out of your day to sit here with us. As for all the participants, thank you for joining the session. You have 2 more breakout sessions to attend today, and then you're done. So that's exciting. I hope you all enjoyed your lunch. You learned something new, and we will see you at the next breakout session. Bye, panelists. Thank you for coming.